This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a Miele dishwasher that's having some trouble, is acting a little strange. So we're going to be removing the control or the brain of the dishwasher and do a little cleaning of its modular connectors just in case there's a loose connection. I'm going to take off the cabinet cover first by removing or loosening these 4 screws. Actually, we don't remove them, but we're just going to spin them lefty-loosey, and that releases some clips that then will allow me to lift up on the wooden cabinet facade and just pull it off of the door. So this is on the Incognito model and a couple other models. Pretty cool, just blends in with the cabinet. So you grab it, after you loosen it, lift it up, it'll come right off. And now I want to get the metal bezel or the cover where the buttons are off, so I have to remove a few screws. Sped up the film here a little bit. So these just top peripheral screws that were covered by the wooden cabinet are now exposed. We can remove those. And these are a little shorter than most of the screws, so we want to kind of keep them separate. And we're going to lift up on this metal bezel, just gradually, take your time, and we're going to gently remove it. We don't want to bend it. Kind of wiggle it, lift. Got that off. Okay. And we're going to remove some screws here on the back. These screws are actually covered before by that metal piece. A couple of these are a little longer than the others, so you just want to keep them separate. I'm going to remove this little center one on the door lock, and there's 2 on the sides. These are holding the brain or the controller into the door. Just 2 little side ones. I'm going to get those out. Then you could, at that point, a couple more little short ones, you could pull the controller out slightly, but to really get to it, you've got to do a little bit more disassembly. This is the controller, pretty big unit. So we're going to remove some short ones here on the inside sides of the door, and these are holding the 2 halves of the door together. So we're going to get those off too. And that's just so we can get to the controller a little bit easier. This one just had weird problems, like the door, or when you move the door in and out, sometimes the power button would go on, sometimes it wouldn't go on. It was just kind of acting weird. So I got a feeling there's a loose or bad connection with the wire modules that connect to the brain or the controller. So we're just going to clean those and remove them and then put them back. Sometimes you get some corrosion or a loose connection. So I'm separating those 2 halves now. It just makes it easier for me to get the controller out. Just take your time here. Sometimes it's a little stuck. There's some insulation material that is sticky, kind of sticks the 2 ends together, 2 halves. So we got this 1 half taken off, and we have this insulation material now on the door. And here's the door lock. I'm going to take the door lock out, and I'm going to check its connection. So here's the controller, and you can see behind it and below it there's a series of wires that connect to it. This is the door lock. I get a feeling that the door lock might be part of the problem, because when you would move the door into the lock position or out of the lock position, sometimes the lights would work, sometimes they wouldn't work. So there might be a bad connection between the door lock and its connector. I'm also going to use my multi-tester just to test the door lock switch. It has a little micro switch inside, and when the door closes, it's supposed to make a micro switch close a connection. When you open the door, it's supposed to break the connection. So if you want to get off these little modular connectors on the back, you push down on a plastic tab, and you want to wiggle these connectors out. They're not easy to get out. You just take your time. You don't want to force anything, so just wiggle, pull a little bit, it'll come out. So to get the door lock out, there's a little plastic tab you can push off to the side and then pull the bottom of it up and out towards you. There we go. And then there's the modular connector for it that you can just take off. So I'll test out the switch. I like to use my multi-tester. It has a continuity test that's auditory. You can hear it beep when you have a nice connection. That kind of helps. So I set my meter for that. Put my probes on the spade connectors, and then when the door is in the open position, you should not hear anything because there's no continuity. I'm going to spray a little electrical cleaner on the connection. So I'll do my test for continuity, and then when I push my screwdriver in to make the door think it's closed, then I do hear a beep, meaning that there is continuity. So I know that the door lock and door switch are working as they should. It is possible though that the modular connector was just loose or corroded, so I'm going to make sure that that connection is tight. Just doing a little more testing and bending the spade connectors a little bit so that they get a better connection with the plastic modular connector. So hook that back up, and then once you have it hooked up, you can just push it back into the brain or the controller. It's pretty rare that these controllers go out on the Miele dishwasher. They're pretty tough. But with all these machines, sometimes over the years they get steam, gets in and messes with the connections. So just wiggling the connections around these modular connectors is great. I like to fully remove them and then spray them with some electrical cleaner too. So to remove these, you just push down on a plastic tab and again wiggle them out away from the controller, out the bottom, and then just wiggle them back in. So this actually did cure the problem. I hope this helps you too, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance.